Even if your technique is flawless, a blank face, or even a pretty one without storytelling automatically limits your score. Hello there, and welcome back to Dance Colleges and Careers. I'm your host, Brittany, and this is the podcast where we talk about all things dance, colleges, careers, and competitions. So let's dive into today's episode. This is called the 75% rule. Have you heard of it? Yeah, so this is something I created in the FAME method. The 75% rule is step one on what we work on. It is so simple, and I like to be able to show you or show the dancers exactly what they're leaving on the floor when they refuse to use their facial expressions, when they're struggling so bad to give any face other than a blank stare, blank face, and just being aware that not training our facial expressions is costing you a lot. Basically, if you are doing your performance beautifully and with amazing technique and everything is 100% except for you are only giving a blank stare or a dead face, then that automatically puts you down to a 75%. Okay, let's break this down a little bit. When you are at competition, you are getting scored by the judges, right? It is a competition. The results are based on numerical results. Every competition is run slightly different, but basically the overall score is based on four main categories. Physicality and execution, meaning your styling. Showmanship or your stage presence. Yeah, facials. And then there's other, meaning choreography, costume appropriateness, and things like that. So imagine that you have a score of 100%. And we're going to divide these up evenly just for ease of numbers. Although I will say usually technique is weighted a little bit heavier, maybe like 33 or 35%. And choreography and costume is going to be a little bit less. But basically, they come up to be about 25% each. And that's what we're working with today. If your technique is 25%, your musicality and your styling is 25%, that's 50%. And then your stage presence, your showmanship, another 25% equals 75%. You got it. And then finally, that last category being choreography, costume appropriateness, etc., another 25%. So do you see that if you have three of the four categories, that puts you at a 75%. So if you have exceptional technique, but you have absolutely nothing going on with your storytelling or your stage presence, then that is what can start you at a 75%. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to go to get this free worksheet so we can work on it together. And because this is the exact worksheet I do in the FAME method, the only difference is in that I do the work for you. Okay, so go right now to grab your free download. It's at brittanyoltemeyer.com/69. Push pause, go grab that so we can work on this together. All right, we are back. So the 75% rule. Why facials matter just as much as turns or technique or as your musicality. So I'm just saying why facials are just as important as the other things that we really hone in on and spend most of our time, and we really neglect our facials. So even if your technique is flawless, a blank face, or even just a pretty one without storytelling automatically limits your score. There's no doubt about it. If you are giving the judges nothing with your face, they cannot score you as high as they really want to. So when I judged the Miss North Dakota pageant and people would say, oh, do you already know who's going to win, or do you already have a favorite? And I said, absolutely not. Because when it comes to showtime, when it comes to the competition, the girls are going to show us where they fit, where they belong, where they deserve to be in that lineup. And that's exactly what happened. And that really connects with the finals where I was just at nationals at a dance competition. I was at Talent on Parade, and in nationals, everybody gets scored all day long, and then they take the top percent and they recompete again in the evening. And then in the evening, they get a different score than throughout the rest of the day. It's a ranking system. And so where it's like, oh, do you already know who's going to win? Because you've already seen these routines. But the answer is no, because it is what the dancers bring to the stage in that moment, and they tell you. They practically tell you where they deserve to be in the lineup, how much they're fighting for it, not going overboard and overblasting and throwing everything and whacking out of control, but their performance shows you where they should end up in that lineup. And it's very cool how that happens. Okay. So we're here in the worksheet, and I already said why, because technique is not your entire score. Technique is what we work on in the studio, but dance is not only technique. Dance is about the whole performance. We want people to feel things when they watch our performance. We want them to remember us by the way we made them feel. We don't want them walking away saying, hey, that was a pretty sweet back handspring. That's not our goal at the end of the day. We want to be remembered. We want to leave our mark. So if you look in the next section, there's this chart there. And what I want you to do is when you're working on your solo, I want you to self-coach. So print this out, watch your solo or watch your routine that you're working on, and then ask yourself, is my technique present in this piece? Or am I really not living up to my best potential for my technique? And then check either yes or not yet. Then we go into musicality. Do you actually feel your dance is in conjunction with the music? Are you hitting the accents? Are you ending the routine on the right beat? Are you dancing really quickly and waiting for the next section of the music to catch up to you? So where are you at in your musicality? Judge yourself fairly and honestly. This is not to tear yourself down. This is to look at it and see what you personally need to work on the most. Next is showmanship. Is it present in your piece? Yes or not yet? And sometimes you might have a dance where you're like, I have absolutely no idea what my facials are supposed to be to this dance. Luckily, I have a formula. Don't have to do that by yourself anymore. I use formulas and systems so that you don't have to feel so insecure and worried about what your facial expressions are supposed to be, but that the music, the genre of the style, and the volume of the music actually tells you how your facial expression should be. And you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to feel insecure with what other people around you think or what other dancers in the room think of your performance, because you followed the system, you followed the roadmap, and you're doing exactly what you're told by the teacher, because that's what it's supposed to be. Just like our dance technique, if you lift your leg in a développé and it's lifted, the hip is lifted, the knee's parallel, the foot's flexed, there is a right and wrong to that movement right there. Yep. Okay, so we put the hip down, we stretch behind the knee, and we stretch the foot. That is what we want for our développé, correct? So the same thing with our facial expressions. There is a right or wrong. There is a way to fully tell the story. There's a way to tell part of the story, come in and out of it, and just the way we would if we kind of have nice technique, but our feet start flopping a lot towards the ends. And that is why we have scores at competition and why there is a full arc of where we land in that. Okay. And then finally, it's other. I would say this one probably is a yes, no matter what. Okay. Unless you did your dance and you are not put together. If you're wearing half your costume, if your hair's not done, if you're not looking like a professional, then that one might be not yet if you don't feel like a professional. But your teacher's probably already given you your choreography. Your costume is most likely clean and put together. If not, that's step number one. You got to get that under control first. You got to make sure you look the part before you start to try to figure things out in a messy way. Okay, so you understand you are going to self-coach yourself. Where are you at in your technique, musicality, showmanship, and other? I made this worksheet as simple as can be, meaning yes or no. Okay, so if your technique is a yes, but your musicality is a no and everything else is a yes, where are you at? 75%. If you mark yes on 2 of them and no on the other 2, where are we at? 50%. I don't know about you, but a 50% in school is a failing grade. Okay? I don't mean to say we're a failure. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that I'm trying to really emphasize how important it is to make sure you are marking off a little bit of each category. Even if it's not perfect yet, that's okay. We are students. We're learning. We're not expecting you to be perfect, but you have to at least put in a little effort in every category. So if you're not doing anything with your face, you're missing a full category and already starting at 75% at best. You get it? Yeah, nobody wants that. Then below that, I want you to include some notes. What's one moment you can improve on with expression? That's specifically in this routine. I'm not talking about everything in life. You have to be specific when you're trying to fix corrections. Okay. So, and And I'm not really looking for, oh, when I do that kick over here, I'm going to go, ooh. Let's try and think a little bigger picture so we can fix that overall expression and not just one vowel face or one accent face. We're not there right now. That is a more advanced part of this system. And right now we just need to have the overall feel. We need to have the correct expression. We need to make sure that we're telling the story the way that us as the dancer and the musician, the singer-songwriter, wants the song to be portrayed. Understand? Okay, and I need to put a little disclaimer in there. I mentioned it before, but I've worked for so many dance competitions, and even the ones I don't work for, I have friends who work at every single competition, and we've chatted about it, communicated. So even though many competitions are not exactly 25% for each of these categories, or let's say you get your numbers back and it's just one score, and you're like, well, then they're not judging me on all this. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. This is exactly what we judge on as a judge, whether we give you one number of a 98, a 93, or if we give you four numbers that add up to a 92.5. Or another competition I judge for, there's like 6 categories, and the numbers are slightly different, but the way they all add up comes out to be something very similar to this. Okay, so let's say you've done the worksheet and it's almost making you feel a little bit yucky, or you've done it a couple times and you want to take it a little bit more advanced. So now rather than doing all or nothing, yes or not yet, the full 25%, you can give yourself a score. You can give 1 through 25 and every single one of these boxes, add it up together and see what you would score yourself at competition. Okay? We are just trying to learn how to also see the bigger picture. Or when we walk away all the time, always upset we didn't get this score, take a step back. Look at it from the big picture. Look at it from a judge's point of view. What would you score yourself on that moment? Maybe you thought the whole thing was awful because you didn't land your aerial. But if you go back and look at it, you're like, oh, well, actually, I had great personality. I had really strong performance all throughout, except for that one moment when I dropped the aerial. So is that going to be, missing your aerial, is that going to be a complete 0 in one of these categories? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I think it definitely helps to take a step back, think a little bit bigger, and to put yourself in the judge's seat. So you might be thinking, how do I know if this is me? I feel like I'm smiling. I feel like I'm giving facial expressions, but how do I know? One style of dancer that this is so important for are my dancers who have really, really high technique. Like they take a lot of technique classes. They are very skilled, very well trained in technique, and maybe feel so insecure with stage presence because the way the body moves is just so much more natural, so much better than what this wants to do. I think a lot of that also comes just from what we do in the classroom. If you're very highly skilled and trained in technique, you probably are very respectful. You're quiet when the teacher talks. And I think that like silent and stoic personality out of respect kind of becomes a detriment. I don't mean to say to lose any of that, but I can see the stoicness in respectful training on stage. And it's because we work so hard, we're so confident in the technique, and that has gotten you so far in the past that you're like, but I'm good. I don't really want to do this. I want to développé my leg. I don't feel comfortable doing this, but let my technique show for itself. And you are the dancer when I'm watching that I want to help you so much, because as a judge, as a director, you can see the overall picture of this weekend, but you also see the overall picture of last weekend and the weekend before. And you might be a dancer who always wins in this city, but if you went to this other city, you would be beat out by 5 people. And there are such simple, easy things we can do that we can choreograph in that I know you. I know you. I get that perfectionist personality, wanting to do everything right, correct, and worried that this will not be correct. But there are rules so that this can be correct, and that when you go on stage, yeah, I know you won this weekend, but it'll keep you at the top. I think it's very common for this type of dancer to get an instrumental song. And that is when I had a dancer this last year who felt like she was being hindered because the music was so difficult. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Because there are no lyrics, because this is an instrumental piece, you have unlimited potential to always get better and score higher with your facial expressions because the song is not telling you exactly what you have to do. You get to create a full story. You get to do something more than just stare up at that corner or look out at the audience. You are given, oftentimes you're given huge opportunity. And sometimes we, as extreme technicians, we see that meant only for the leg, only for the line. But know that your teacher knows how good you are, and you can use your music to have unlimited potential with every time you perform. So if that's you, I just want to urge you to try a little bit. Just try to have a little bit of facial expressions every time you perform. Do not say, I'll do it on stage. It doesn't come as naturally as you think it's going to. And that's when we do weird things. Like I saw this one dancer who was making super cute faces, but then every once in a while would do this one. And if she were practicing in the studio, the teacher would probably say, oh, okay, let's fix that one because now that's a weird face, right? With the dead eyes and the mouth open. I see the effort, but it wasn't practiced enough or rehearsed enough. You run your solo a million times. You should be getting the most out of it every single time. And for my perfectionists, for my incredible technical dancers, remember, if your technique is here and another dancer's technique is here and you have no stage presence or just a stoic face, but this other dancer just has a little bit of stage presence, they will beat you every time. Because that's how the rubric is. Because we have to score you like that. Of course, there's differences with difficulty levels, transitions, musicality, but you can no longer sit back and just perform with a stoic face. Not you. You can't do that anymore. Beat the 75% rule. So I encourage you to be a little bit more brave. Yes, we are here to be brave in the Fame Academy. Okay. And maybe you're like, Brittany, that sounds great and all, but I just don't know if I'm doing it right. No problem. I totally got you. We are starting the Fame Academy in October and it runs all season. It's 6 weeks of coaching starting in October. We take a break over the holidays because you've got to do the holidays, finish learning your choreography and clean up things at your studio anyways. And then in January, you come back for full feedback sessions. So if you want feedback, not just self-coaching, I highly recommend you check out the Fame Academy. It just happens one time a year because we do the training in the fall, just like your other classes, and then focus on competition feedback in the spring. So if you're interested at all, check us out this October. The next one won't be happening again until October of 2026. So I hope to see you there. Plus, at this age, you do not have a whole year to sit aside and wait and try to figure it out yourself. Thank you so much for being here on Dance Colleges and Careers. I absolutely love getting to chat with you. If this was helpful or inspiring, please share it with someone else who needs to hear this message today. Maybe a duet partner or a dance parent at your studio. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, be brave, tell your story, and own the stage.